All right, Larry Krueger here from the Pig and a Pickle Krug Show at Levi's Stadium. Kind of a rainy Thursday. 49ers, though, hit the practice field, getting ready for Tampa Bay on Sunday. Just going through a few of the things happened down here in Santa Clara. One, probably the most important one, Trent Williams returned to practice, so he's probably going to go Sunday against the Buccaneers. Aaron Banks did not. He's got the turf toe, so John Feliciano is most likely going to start at left guard. Now, the Niners also worked out a cornerback. The veteran Jason Verrett was in for a workout. This was Field Yates from ESPN that broke this story earlier today. He had just been cut from Houston's practice squad on Wednesday. And, Verrett's a NorCal guy. He's from I think, Fairfield, Vacaville area, and he last appeared in the NFL in 2021. He's 32. He's had 4 different seasons ended prematurely by injury. And, I'm not sure what to make of it other than it could be a bad sign that they don't think that Darrell Luter Jr. or Samuel Womack are looking that great as far as a possible return, or it could just be them covering their bases. The one thing with Verrett is he's just got the world's greatest feet. And playing cornerback is so much about having great feet. So they're always going to give him a shot to try to get on the field because he's just got elite mirroring ability, incredible speed and talent and body control. And that's why teams keep giving him opportunities despite the fact he's been hurt a ton. But, it may be an indicator that Luter and Womack are not going to be ready to help them this year. They have Mooney Ward, they have Demo Lenore, they have Ambry Thomas, Isaiah Oliver, Shamar Jean-Charles. No corners currently on the practice squad. So Wilks did indicate later today that Isaiah Oliver is going to have a role, even though he only played 3 snaps this week against Jacksonville. A couple other notes. Colton McKivitz was back at practice. He practiced yesterday and today. He's coming back from the ankle and the knee injury. And so he's practiced for 2 straight days. I did ask Chris Forrester if Colton can't go, who's going to go at right tackle. And he said the next man up is Matt Pryor. So it won't be Jalen Moore, it'll be Matt Pryor that gets the first run. But then he also said, hey, look, if Pryor doesn't do the job, they'll go to Jalen Moore. So, I don't think it's anything etched in stone there, but they're going to start with Pryor if McKivitz can't go. But I do think McKivitz is going to be able to go. Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles with the ankle injury. He's making progress. He was out on the field today as well. We talked to Steve Wilks after practice, and he admitted that the team looked a little tired against Cincinnati. They needed the bye week, and that you could see post-bye that they were refreshed and a lot more energetic. He said Baker Mayfield is playing at a really high level, and he called him a fierce competitor. Had good things to say about Chase Young, of course. He said he did some great things. Then he complimented Chris Kocurek and told us that he thinks Kocurek's the best defensive line coach in the NFL. And then when he was asked about the effort against Jacksonville, he made a great point that really it was all 3 levels. The Niners' D-line complemented their linebacking core, which complemented the coverage. I mean, it all works in unison. And the coverage was strong. The rush was great. The second-level defenders made their plays. They didn't miss a bunch of tackles, and it was a really crisp defensive effort for sure. And he mentioned that they complemented each other well. We asked him about Ambry Thomas, and he just said Ambry did some great things. He also did some great things in the preseason that kind of caught his eye, and that he mentioned that Ambry's great in man-to-man coverage. And Isaiah Oliver wound up playing 3 snaps. Ambry Thomas played 46 snaps. He did say that Oliver will continue to play because the Niners do have 3 games in 12 days. So, they're going to have to use absolutely every single one of their players to get through this stretch. Wilks also talked about Ji'Ayir Brown. He was asked about Ji'Ayir Brown and said that they were just talking about him today, that he's progressing, he's gotten a whole lot better. He said he's excited about him. I think Niner fans are excited about him as well. I'm not sure when we're going to see him on the field, but there was a Ji'Ayir Brown mention that he's progressing at a high level, and you get the sense from listening to Steve that it sounds like Brown's getting closer to seeing the field. I asked him about defending the screen game because that seems to be a weakness of the Niner defense, and he just said, this was kind of his funniest answer. He said it's about effort. He says, at the end of the day, you got to whoop that ass in front of you. He didn't say ass, but he said that you got to whoop that A in front of you. And then he basically emphasized, he said, we got to set edges. So at the end of the day, it's, he's saying, hey, look, it's on the players to really, play hard, come off blocks, find the football, pursue the football. I mean, that's basically what he's saying there. Anyway, and then he also talked about Mike Evans. Mike Evans, he's mentioned that Mike Evans can muscle you at the line of scrimmage, that, he can go up in a crowd. He can run every route on the tree, deceptive speed. So they may have to mix it up scheme-wise against Mike Evans. Then I had a chance to go talk to Chris Forster, and Forster was interesting today. I asked him about Colton McKivitz and how he looked at practice, and he says he's looking good at practice, and that Pryor would be the guy at right tackle if Colton can't go. And then he also talked about Vita Vea and Kalijah Cansey on that Buccaneer line. He said they do a really good job. Their edge rushers are really talented guys. He said it's a very talented group. So the Niner O-line is really going to be challenged this week against Tampa's D-line. Brock, got a chance to talk to Brock today. He mentioned how the difference between last year's Bucs team and this year's Bucs team is last year Tampa did not have Vita Vea or Antoine Winfield for the matchup. And anybody who knows personnel knows that that's kind of a lot, because Vita Vea is fantastic up front and Winfield's their best player on the back end. So that means that this is going to be a bigger challenge to beat the Buccaneers this week than it was last year, and Brock wanted to lay that out. And then, it's interesting. He said when he was asked about has he improved now that he's played a full year in the NFL? Has he improved since the beginning? And he said that, yes and no, that, he likes the fact that he used to play with that spark and that energy and that chip on his shoulder, and kind of referenced the bye week as a way to kind of get that back, that, play aggressively with that chip on the shoulder and be hungry. And he admired that, some of his early days playing last year, that he had that hunger, and it sounded like he's regaining it. And then I asked him, how does he balance, just the desire to stay aggressive, make plays, but also be smart with the football and, take the check down and, take care of the football and that kind of thing. And he just talked about how he's just, he's thrown the fear part of it out the window, doesn't even contemplate that he really just wants to try to play with that competitive edge. And he said, just try to simplify it. You're aware that you got to take care of the football, but go out there and play ball and be aggressive. So I think it's probably the proper mindset. We'll see how it looks, of course, this weekend against the Tampa Bay Bucs. Got a chance to talk to George Odom in the locker room today. He emphasized that 13 and 14 are the guys this week, and that's, of course, Mike Evans wears 13 and Chris Godwin wears 14. They got a pretty good idea of what kinds of routes those guys like to run. We also had a chance to talk to George Kittle, who said that Brock played really well under pressure against Jacksonville. And I asked George if he knew that he had gotten one-on-one against Devin Lloyd on that touchdown in the early third quarter, and he said he didn't know until he went in motion. When he went in motion, he had a pretty good idea he was getting the one-on-one, and then Purdy put it up for him. And then, he mentioned on that play that the one of the underrated aspects of playing quarterback is hand strength and being able to hold the football. Brock on that play, the touchdown to Kittle, pumped hard to Ayuk and still kept the ball in his hand, and then recocked it back and went down the field. And having that hand strength and control of the football is actually a key element as well, or one of the keys of being a good quarterback. So that was a point that he made as well. And I also had a chance today to talk to Chase Young, and he just said that he loves the fact that the 49ers have all these dogs in the room, and that there's just a lot of talent on this football team. And he's just talked about how he's excited to wreak havoc this week. He said, he's got big Tristan Wirfs, and he's a big boy, but it's going to be a fun matchup. And it's funny, the Niner D-line gave them a lot of swagger in the past, and the one thing about Chase is he's very, very confident and probably gives this team a little bit more swagger up front. because of that confidence that he carries with him. All right, thanks to Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krug Show. Thanks to Mojo Fantasy for sponsoring this video. Sign up at Mojo Fantasy. Check that link in the description. Use the promo code Krug. And everybody who does, we're giving away a Bosa and a Purdy jersey on Thanksgiving night to everybody who signs up at Mojo Fantasy. And thanks to all you guys for supporting the Krug Show on YouTube.